Hi everyone, I'm Rivka Lambert-Adler. I'm a Jewish woman living in Israel, and I am the editor of 10 from the Nations, a book about the Torah awakening among non-Jews. And this is another video for the companion project, Torah School for the Nations. So today I want to talk about I'll tell you that I did a resource guide because I was getting a lot of questions from people about where could they go, what books could they read, what websites could they go to learn more about authentic Torah that would be appropriate for them as people from the nations. And so I put all that together on my website, 10fromthenations.com. If you look under Torah School, you'll see the link to Torah resources. One of the resources that I mentioned is a book that was very meaningful for me personally. It's a book called The Garden of Emunah. The Garden of Emunah was originally written by Rabbi Shalom Arush in Hebrew, and this is the English translation of it. This is my personal copy. But I found out recently that they did another version of Garden of Emunah called the Universal Garden of Emunah. The Universal Garden of Emunah was designed for people from the nations to get some of the value of this very powerful spiritual book, The Garden of Emunah, to get some value in a way, in a language that makes sense to people from the nations. I wanted to mention that if you're coming to Torah School for the Nations on April 1st in Israel, that we will have copies of this book for sale, The Universal Garden of Emunah. But let me teach you something from the book so that hopefully it'll encourage you to buy the book for yourself, either at Torah School itself or online. So Emunah is a concept of a belief in God, of a faith and belief in God and in God's running of the world. And according to the Garden of Emunah, both versions of it, there's basically three principles or three levels of believing in, not just believing in God, but believing that everything that happens in the world comes from God. So that means the tiniest little thing, like there's a Jewish concept that if you stick your hand in your pocket and you're looking for a coin of a certain denomination and you pull out a different coin, that even that is controlled by God's divine providence, what we call in Hebrew hashgacha pratit, which is God's private supervision of everything that happens in the world. So that's the first level, is to believe that everything that happens is from God. The second level is a little bit more challenging, and that is to believe that everything that happens for the very best. It may not seem that way in the beginning, but that ultimately, if you were God, or if you could see what God can see, you would understand that everything that happens is ultimately for the very best. And the book goes into details about how that could possibly be when it surely doesn't look like that on the surface. That's the second level. So if you believe that everything comes from God and that everything is from the very best, you're at the second level of Emunah, of faith and belief with a full heart in God. And the third level is even more challenging, but it has to do with believing that everything that happens to you in your life, whether you perceive it as good or bad, is number one from God, which is a tremendous source of spiritual comfort. That number two is for the very best, also a source of spiritual comfort. And number three, that it's for a very specific purpose. And that part of being a human being and part of having a relationship with God is to try to figure out what is that particular specific purpose that God sent you that particular set of circumstances, whether it's something happy or something challenging. All of that is part of the process of growing in Emunah. And as either of these books, Garden of Emunah or the Universal Garden of Emunah, as any of these books are good for, is helping strengthen that Emunah muscle that you would have, that muscle that a spiritual muscle that gives you the opportunity to strengthen your belief that everything comes from God, everything is for the very best, and everything that comes to you is for a very specific purpose. I hope that that little insight was helpful and that you'll take a moment to find the book, to order the book, to buy the book at Torah School for the Nations if you're planning on coming, and that ultimately all of that will help you feel closer to God in your everyday. I hope this was helpful, and I look forward to speaking to you next week. Thank you. Take care.